Welcome to all in the gallery, as well as our two council members who are attending by phone. This is the regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West, held in council chambers at 216 Main Street West, Swan River, Manitoba. This 23rd day of February 2021 at 7 p.m. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, some members are attending by phone. Present in chambers, myself, Deputy Reeve Blosha, Councillor Foster, Wills, and Kushniryk. On the telephone, Councillor Gade and Councillor Pierrepont. As well in the council chambers is our Assistant CAO / Finance Officer, James Webb. First resolution, resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held this 23rd day of February 2021 shall be adopted as presented. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Wills moves that resolution. Seconder? Councillor Foster. Anyone have any additions?
I have two that I'd like to add.
Okay.
7.9, Benito Lagoon. And 7.10, Media Relations.
Okay, any objections to those additions? If not, we will have it as amended. All in favor?
Yes. Yes.
That is carried. Next resolution, resolved that the minutes for the regular meeting of council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West held on February 9th, 2021 shall be adopted as circulated. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Moved by Councillor Blosha. Seconder? Councillor Kushniryk. Any errors or omissions? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Councillor Pierrepont?
Yes.
That is carried. Okay, we'll move on to 7. This resolution reads, resolved that Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West has received the LUD committee minutes of January 2021. Do we have a mover for that resolution, please?
I'll move that.
Moved by Councillor Wills. Seconder? Councillor Foster. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Yes. Yes.
That is carried.
Did somebody just join us on the phone? Good evening. Did somebody just join us on the phone?
It could be me switching phones because one was going dead.
Okay, no problem.
Mute. Yep. Unmute.
Okay, next resolution, resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West does hereby rescind resolution number 4 of the special meeting dated February 1st, 2021, regarding accepting the quote from Harbuilt Construction Limited for bridge repairs, as the contractor is unable to complete the repairs as quoted. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Moved by Councillor Wills. A seconder?
I will.
Seconded by Councillor Pierrepont. Any questions or comments?
Councillor Gade.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering if you could provide some background to this a little more. I was involved with that resolution when it was passed, but I have to admit I don't know anything else about what's happened here. Could you share some details?
I personally was not involved, but I will turn it over to James. He is the one that communicated with Harbuilt.
Before the contract was awarded, I got a call from the contractor saying that he was glad to move ahead with this project, but I hadn't awarded that yet. So I'm wondering if I could ask councillors if they communicated with Harbuilt before I did.
Well, I can certainly say that I did. After we had the meeting that was public, I did speak to them.
So what was communicated at that call?
I communicated that we passed a resolution awarding it to them. I think I didn't have the resolution written down exactly, but I sort of spoke about the resolution that there was the two bridges and it was the combined both projects and there was some contingency there as well. Basically what the resolution stated.
So basically, what are you telling us?
I don't know that there's much confusion on what I'm saying.
Okay.
We held a public meeting. We awarded the thing. I did speak to the gentleman after the meeting and let him know what the resolution was that was passed.
So did the Reeve or council give you permission to call him?
Well, it was a public meeting, wasn't it?
Yeah, but we have people that do that type of work for the municipality.
Oh, I'm sure we do. I actually, part of what I spoke to him about was saying, while the resolution was passed, certainly someone from the municipality would be in contact with him because there'd be a process he'd have to go through. No doubt to set up a contract and all of that sort of stuff. I was simply telling him what the resolution said to that point.
Okay. So was there any discussion regarding other values in the tender process?
Yeah, I'd have to try and think about that.
Would you think that there was any misleading information provided?
Seeing how I don't generally provide misleading information, Mr. Webb, I doubt they would have been.
Okay, well, that's all we need to know, because from my experience, we all have a different interpretation of words, and the communication sometimes isn't that clear. So I just, not accusing, just asking the question, basically, because this fella seemed very confused about it. And I think the general public feels very confused about it, because when you look at two sets of numbers and you just take them at face value, there's really doesn't tell the whole story. And when we look at the bridge tenders that we received, it was quite a varied scope that was included in those tenders for us to pick and choose which we felt as a council and administration would work best for the municipality. And we didn't take the full packages that have been quoted. And I felt this guy was very confused about that. And we did a lot of work to try to clarify that. And he wasn't able to do the job as he quoted at the end of the day. And I felt bad for him.
I certainly do feel bad for him too. I'm not sure why he would put in a bid to a tender that he wasn't able to do. Did he have some sort of confusion with what was the work was to be done? I thought when we looked at the tenders, it was pretty clear that, you know, here was what we wanted done, here was what it should be. I thought he would have been quoting on what we asked for.
Oh, exactly. And that's why we put so much time into this process to make sure that it was absolutely clear. We had good, clear communication through the channels that were provided by council to the contractors. And then we run into this, and I didn't want to believe anything. I didn't want to talk about this. I just said we have to rescind this resolution because of the fact that it's not going to work. According to our tendering process, we have to abide by the process that's provided. And somehow it went sideways on us. So I appreciate you letting us know what took place.
I guess I'm left a little bit confused, or maybe I just slow to grasp the concept. So what was the actual issue that he felt he couldn't do it for what he had bid?
Yes.
Was it something else? Okay, so it wasn't something else. It was, you know, it was him saying to us, I don't want this. It wasn't us saying to him, you can't have it.
Mm-hmm. But when other tenders are provided to him, I don't think that's a fair to him to go into this thinking that he must have left something out. Because he was the honorable guy that came up with the right quote to win the bid, and now he's sitting out in the cold because he feels that he's got to add a little bit more to his bid in order to do the job.
I don't know if I feel too bad if he bid the wrong amount and isn't able to do it for it.
Yeah, and that's totally up to him. I can't say anything about him running his business. All I can say is I want a clear, transparent presentation here to answer your question, and I think we've answered that question already.
Yeah, I'm not sure I completely understand it all. When you and I spoke, Mr. Webb, you told me that the reason we were considering rescinding this was because Mr. Wills had come to the Transportation Committee with some concerns about this. That's not exactly what I'm hearing tonight. I'm actually hearing that you had some concerns about it. So maybe we can clarify that a little bit.
Well, there you go. You're putting words in my mouth, and that's what I'm a little afraid is goes on quite a bit, because in a lot of media posts lately, there's been miscommunications that have not represented exactly what's been going on. There's been media communications that have happened in camera that the rest of the council cannot defend because it is in-camera discussions that if they did reveal that, they can be dismissed from council. So we're not going to mince words here. I told you exactly in the office, now that you brought a private conversation up in public, that I had got some information, I did not believe it, and I've got to further investigate it.
It's not actually at all what you said.
There you go. A misunderstanding, how easy it can happen. I think it's time to move on.
Lots to you, Mr. Webb, but thank you for your answers.
Okay, thanks for your help.
Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Abstained?
Yes.
Resolution is carried. 6-1. Next resolution, whereas a recommendation has been brought forward from the Transportation Committee regarding repairs to the Whitmire and Crestview bridges to hire Sampson Developments, Inc. as the lowest valid tender or quote submitted for the design build tender advertised, and be it further resolved that the quote from Sampson Developments, Inc. is for $372,667 plus tax, be hereby accepted as received. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Moved by Councillor Blosha. A seconder? Councillor Foster. Any questions, comments, discussion?
Councillor Gade,
Go ahead.
I'm just curious about putting the word valid in there. Certainly it's not the lowest one received, but the reason we're not taking the other one isn't necessarily because it's valid, it's because the person said they didn't want the work. So would we not be better off to do something a little different with the wording?
Actually, from the little bit of information that I was able to glean from listening, the individual who was the lowest tender is now not a valid tender because he asked for more money.
So there's noise online there, just with the last part you said because he wanted more money?
He asked for more money. So
Okay.
his tender would be considered invalidated because it was not the original asking price. So that's why we are putting the lowest valid quote.
This here, for the public's information and for council's information, is $112,000 higher than we originally approved due to what we just discussed.
Any other questions or comments?
Can I hear a recorded vote, please?
Yeah, okay, we have one other comment. Councillor Kushniryk.
James, will you be the one officially contacting this company to award the contract?
That's usually the process that it is, and we can include that if, but I think that's a given. There's not another council in Manitoba that would think otherwise. So I think we can leave it off there and just hope that everybody follows the spirit of the law. And if it doesn't go that way, we've got another 2 weeks. We've got a delay in bridge building, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay, a recorded vote has been called for by Councillor Gade, so we will begin that process. Councillor Blosha.
Yes.
Councillor Wills.
Yes.
Councillor Kushniryk.
Yes.
Councillor Foster.
Yes.
Councillor Gade.
Abstain, please.
Councillor Pierrepont.
Yes.
And myself, yes. The resolution is carried. 6 to 1 abstention.
We have one more with that.
Whereas a recommendation has been brought forward from the Transportation Committee regarding repairs to Whitmire and Crestview bridges to set aside a $40,000 contingency for any repairs that may be required to maintain the bridges at recommended safety standards. Bridges will be further inspected once the decks have been removed. Be it therefore resolved that council approve the recommended contingency of $40,000 for bridge repairs that may be required once bridges are further inspected. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Moved by Councillor Wills. Seconder by Councillor Kushniryk. You got beat out. Sorry, Councillor Pierrepont. Any questions or comments on this resolution?
Councillor Gade.
Go ahead.
Kind of curious, just, I know we're looking at ballpark numbers and such, but do we think we're going to spend the whole 40, or is this just more in case something happens?
I think it's larger rather than smaller so that we don't have to spend it all and then come back to council for more authorization. It's not committing to spending that money. That amount of money is pre-authorized in the event that it is needed.
How would we reach the determination it was needed, just so we don't have, issue as we just spoke about where someone says, oh, well, I've decided I need more money. How do we make sure that it's for something that needs to be added as compared to just paying more for something that was already covered?
I think it would have to be to do with the safety of the bridge, or something that is completely rotten. If it were a wooden piece that would have to be replaced, but obviously a timber isn't worth 40 grand. So again, it is not there to be spent because it's pre-authorized. It's there for any eventuality that is deemed to be required to repair the bridge safely and properly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And also there's RM supplied gravel and labor that will go in that should be applied in there too. That's not in those quotes.
That is correct. Any other comments or questions? Not, we'll call the question. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
That is carried. Next resolution, resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West does hereby rescind, reverse Resolution Number 8 of the December 8th, 2020 regular meeting of Council regarding the tax year, as there was a misunderstanding of the year in question. Do we have a mover for that resolution?
Hey, technically I have to move it because I said I was bringing it.
Okay, moved by Councillor Gade. Seconder, please. Councillor Kushniryk. Any comments or questions?
Councillor Gade.
Go ahead.
Let's speak to it for 2 seconds. It's the resolution. The resolution, there's nothing wrong with the resolution we passed. It's wrong with what we passed. It needed to be done in this calendar year, not last calendar year. So the whole point of this is to undo it from last calendar year. I suspect moments from now, council is going to repass it in the correct year, and that just dots the I's and crosses the T's to make sure that should there be a tax sale of a property, it's completely valid, and no property owner could come back to us later and say, look, you did something wrong. This way it's fixed ahead of time, and it's for sure good.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
That is carried. Next resolution, whereas Section 365 Sub 2 of the Municipal Act provides that council may, in any year, designate the immediately preceding year or any earlier year as the year for which properties, the taxes in respect of which are in arrears for that year, must be offered for sale by auction to recover the tax arrears and costs. Be it resolved that the designated year for which properties in arrears be offered for sale by auction be 2020, meaning all properties with outstanding taxes from the year 2019 or prior, and be it further resolved that in accordance with Section 363, Sub 1 of the Municipal Act, costs shall be actual costs incurred by the municipality for each parcel listed for the tax sale, and be it further resolved that tax service shall be hired to manage the tax sale for the municipality during the fiscal year of 2021. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Moved by Councillor Blosha. A seconder?
Yes.
Seconded by Councillor Pierrepont. Any questions or comments?
Councillor Gade.
Go ahead.
Sorry, there's so much banging on the line. When we read the year, I couldn't quite make out what you said. Did you say 2020?
Which part of the resolution?
The part where the designated tax year shall be.
The designated tax year for which properties in arrears be offered for sale by auction be 2020, meaning all properties with outstanding taxes from the year 2019 or prior.
Perfect, thank you. No, it was too much noise, I couldn't hear. Perfect.
Right. Any further questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Councillor Gade?
Yes.
That is carried. Next resolution. Whereas council is aware that nuisance beaver continue to be a problem in the rural municipality for landowners, and whereas the municipality continues to hire trappers to remove problem beaver, therefore be it resolved that council for the municipality of Swan Valley West shall approve the application for cost share funding through the provincial farmland beaver program to help offset costs in continuing this practice. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Moved by Councillor Kushniryk. A seconder? Councillor Blosha. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
That is carried. Next resolution. Whereas the owners of part of the northeast one-quarter section of 193627 WPM have made an application to subdivide their property, and whereas the Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West has reviewed said application, along with the letter received from Community and Regional Planning dated February 11th, 2021, and have no objections to the aforementioned subdivision. Therefore be it resolved that we do hereby approve the subdivision of the aforementioned property, provided all conditions and requirements set out in said letter from the Province of Manitoba Community and Regional Planning Branch are met. Be it further resolved that the applicant needs to apply for a zoning amendment as outlined in said report to Council from the Province of Manitoba Community and Regional Planning Branch. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Moved by Councillor Blosha. Seconded by Councillor Foster. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
That is carried. Next resolution. Whereas Section 4 of Bylaw number 0039-16 states that an application for a burning permit is not valid until endorsed by a designated officer. Therefore be it resolved that the following be named designated officers and authorized to sign the burning permits: Debbie Love, Deborah Schaefer, Donna Potts, and James Webb. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Moved by Councillor Wills. Seconded by Councillor Foster. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
That is carried.
So
Okay,
this,
7.9.
this next resolution, I guess we should, this next resolution is the information I sent out at the end of the day there, and we can talk about it. It looks like a fairly lengthy document, but once you get into it, you'll realize it's just boilerplate stuff that acknowledging the current state and a few things. So get your computers ready. That's where the information's at. Okay? Go ahead.
Okay, whereas the Bonito Lagoon requires an environmental license for Manitoba Conservation and Climate for the continued operation of the wastewater treatment lagoon, and J.R. Cousins Consultants Limited has drafted an environmental active proposal to support the application and is ready to submit for approval. Therefore be it resolved that the Council of Swan Valley West does approve the EAP draft prepared by J.R. Cousins Consultants and have them submit the proposal along with the required fee for the environmental review to be completed. We need a mover for that resolution. Moved by Councillor Wills. Seconder, please. Councillor Foster. Do we want to be reviewing, well, if we have any questions? Okay, questions or comments on this resolution? You all got the material in front of you? No questions? No comments?
We've reviewed it with our staff that deal with this every day, and they were good with it. It's just basically telling us the size of the lagoon. It's telling us the capacity, the depth, the air quality around it, the water quality by particles per thousand. It talks about the land that it's sitting on, the drainage. It's talking about the vegetation around it, whether it be bush or swamp or farmland, and how it should be dealt with as far as drainage goes. Land classifications. Talks about the village of Bonito, the school, the rural population that uses it. Gives a summary of the population currently and the projected. Talks about the wastewater production, hydraulic loading on all parts of the lagoon. Then it's talking about the existing organic capacity and how often it needs to be, the different treatments it's got to be applied to it. Talks about the liner leakage and the testing that was done to prove that it is still a sound structure. Talks about the collection system, recommended repairs and maintenance that we have to do on a regular basis. Any environmental impacts to water, land, or wildlife. So it seems that we're in pretty good shape for this, which is is really good for us, for our municipality. Somebody just joined us. Which name is it?
Hello, who just logged on or joined? Go ahead.
And then basically it just tells the process that they go through for the license and approval. And this is for a license renewal to operate the lagoon going forward.
Okay, any questions from any member of council now?
Just one more question to the gallery. When you join on to the call, it's nice to have your name so we can welcome you and know who's joining us. And if the questions come up, we'll know who to address. Somebody just joined us here a few seconds ago. If you're in the gallery physically, you sign into a log book or a guest book, and we have to do the same thing on the phone. So if you don't wish to give your name, then it's hard for you to stay on the call.
Is it possible that somebody left?
Didn't sound like it, but that could be true. We'll just leave it. That's all right. Just wanted to put that out there. Thanks, Darryl.
Okay, if there are no further questions, we'll call the question. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
That is carried. Okay, that moves us to 7:10. Whereas the Municipality of Swan Valley West's media relation policy states, the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West will be designating a media spokesperson for the municipality by resolution of council. And the policy also states, the purpose of these guidelines for media communication documents is to ensure that the municipality's mission, goals, objectives, and best interests are accurately reflected in every media release. Therefore, be it resolved that Council does hereby appoint the Reeve and CAO as the media spokespersons for the municipality. All councillors and staff shall refer media questions and requests to the Reeve or the CAO. Councillors and staff shall not release any unauthorized information to any form of media. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Moved by Councillor Wills. A seconder? Councillor Kushniryk. Any questions or comments?
No, Sir Gade.
Go ahead.
I wonder a little bit about the wording. We're talking about releases. Normally that would mean like a news release or a media release. Is that really the wording we're looking for here?
I guess it would include what you're qualifying as releases. Coming from a media background, you would have better understanding or terminology, perhaps. What would you suggest?
Well, I guess I'm trying to uncover, the ultimate goal, because I think it's very fair to say that any, quote unquote, a press release, right, a media release, whatever you call that, would be coming from the municipality, a municipal letterhead, and would be either CAO and Reeve. I think that's all well and fine, quite understood. I'm just wondering if we're trying to make it cover things other than that or only those things.
No, I think we're looking for a catch-all.
If we start for a catch-all, we're going to have some very chilling troubles with the Constitution.
And that might be what?
You know, the Constitution of our country provides that there's some semblance of the ability of people to speak. So, for example, hypothetically, if we were going down the path of attempting to say that no member of council other than the Reeve and no person other than the CAO that has anything to do with the municipality could ever express any opinion, for example, or speak to the media, or perhaps even, we say all media. I wonder if we're trying to take into the account social media, something like Facebook. If we're going down that path, we certainly have a hard time justifying such a statement in light of the Constitution of Canada.
Any other questions or comments?
Maybe it's best we have a recorded vote.
Are the rest of council satisfied with the way this resolution is worded?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, if there are no further questions or comments, we will call the recorded vote.
Okay, curious, I'm not sure I got an answer to the question. Would this include somebody posting anything on social media?
I guess there...
Media release, yes.
Sorry, I think you guys talked over each other.
Go ahead, Councillor Pierrepont.
I just said if it's a media release, then yes.
Okay, but as far as not a media release, we're not trying to say that no councillor can post on Facebook, are we?
No.
No, that's where I'm trying to get in my head, because I think it's very fair to say that media releases and municipalities should follow this process. So thank you, I agree.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I guess perhaps to maybe get a little bit more clarification on what individuals think, another hypothetical. We award a contract to someone and a member of council posts it on social media. Would that be acceptable? Would it be breaking the spirit of the resolution that we're currently entertaining?
Well, I think that the municipality should release it first.
We've had problems with that in the past, and it's caused issues.
Okay, I'm not sure that this resolution actually addresses anything other than, as Councillor Gade has pointed out, a media release, which is typically pre-typed and on a letterhead of the municipality.
I think there would be some trouble if you're going to represent the municipality. That's the idea, right? You either have to have permission from the rest of the council to represent the municipality.
Yes.
So you're giving these individuals the power to represent the municipality. If you want to do it, you should ask for it.
So does that mean if there is news, quote unquote, emanating from a meeting, does that then open the gates for anyone to post that to social media, or to broadcast it over a radio station, or to put it in print in the local newspaper without the news being released by either of the appointed individuals?
I think it needs to be released from the appointed individuals within a set time, because too often have we not even been able to award a contract without people knowing about it already.
So in your estimation, Councillor Gade, does this resolution, the way it's worded, cover that sort of occurrence?
I would have to say it does not. I'm not sure I could even make recommendations for how to change it to cover that. I guess you could, sort of say that. The trouble with saying that would be that when a resolution passed a public meeting of council, it is, well, it's just that, it's public. And so to try to suggest that, for example, tonight we have some people in the gallery. We've got a person that works at the Star Times that also works in the municipality. We've got myself that, is an association with the radio station. I'm also a councillor. We have some private individuals. So, if we take, for example, the awarding of a contract we did tonight for a bridge, that's a matter of public record. And it would be very difficult to pass a resolution saying that anyone that was at a public meeting and heard something at a public meeting that was passed in a public meeting wasn't allowed to tell somebody about it. It would be a charter challenge type issue. That would also, as it focuses on media, be an issue that the RTNDA would take up quite strongly and has in the past when other councils have tried it. I think the resolution we have is a very good resolution that limits, the idea of anyone going out and saying that on behalf of Swan Valley West I say this, but certainly that's not something we want. We want designated people doing that. I don't know if there's a way to go further to say that, well, if something's passed in a public meeting, it can't actually be public.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that it's not public, but there should be some consideration given to the municipality by members of council to allow staff, in this case it was the assistant CAO who was going to be contacting the bridge contractor as an example. Then no misunderstanding occurs. It doesn't wind up costing the municipality $112,000 extra. And if he refuses to do the contract, then it's right from the horse's mouth, so to speak, to the person who is making that contact. I guess what you're saying with respect to freedom of speech definitely has a lot of merit. However, there has to be an understanding, I think, amongst council members to allow at least some sort of amount of time for contractors who are awarded a contract to be contacted by the office, because very often there are specific commitments that the contractor has to meet. And if they are notified that they've won the contract, and if they're notified of all of the other contractors' costs, if they are not of upright character, they maybe figure they can squeeze another X number of dollars out of the municipality or whatever. And it puts the municipality behind the 8 ball in trying to get the best job for the best price. So there has to be a spirit of understanding, if nothing else, amongst council members, that if a contract has been awarded or is awarded, that there be a 24 or 48 hour period before the contractor himself is contacted by any other member of council. And I would not see any reason for any other member of council to be contacting a contractor. What would be a valid reason for doing that? At any rate, we will hope that the spirit of the resolution speaks for itself.
One further thing that bridges some cost of, because certainly if you look to the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba or Parliament of Canada, they're both provided protection for anything that occurs during a sitting that is said. However, the government of Manitoba has not provided similar protection for municipal councils. And so when something is said at a municipal council meeting, even though it's a meeting in session duly called, there is no protection for comments from, questions such as defamation. So it might be wise to not bring up people's characters.
I didn't bring up anyone's character. I said if they were not of an upstanding character.
It's a pretty slippery slope. I think caution is warranted there.
And I was speaking not of any member of council, but of the contractor.
I know, but say, for example, that contractor felt that they were of upstanding character, that could become an issue.
And there would be a good argument that, given his response, that might be called into question. At any rate, what has happened has happened. Just pointing out to everyone, in the guidelines for media communications, it says any confusion or inconsistencies have the potential to damage the image of the municipality. And that's just what I was saying previously. So if there's no further comment on the resolution, we will, oh, one more.
Just for the people that are like the Reeve and the CAO, should we have it say designate, like the ACAO or intern? Or is it just
Just implied.
implied? Okay,
In absence. Otherwise, we'd be doing that for everything that we do, but that's perfect.
technicalities.
That's
Okay.
perfect. I'm glad you brought it up, yes.
We will call the vote. Recorded vote has been called for. Councillor Blosha.
Yes.
Councillor Wills.
Yes.
Councillor Kushniryk.
Yes.
Councillor Foster.
Yes.
Councillor Gade.
Yes.
Councillor Pierrepont.
Yes.
And yes for myself. That is carried. Okay, we will move on to number 8, finances. Resolved that the Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West does hereby approve the following payments. General checks number 16739 to 16764 in the amount of $40,558.46 for a grand total of $40,558.46. Do we have a mover for that resolution, please? Moved by Councillor Wills. Seconder? Councillor Kushniryk. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
That's carried. Resolved that the Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West does hereby approve the following payments. Payroll payments, checks number 3512 to 3525 in the amount of $14,825.82 for a grand total of $14,825.82. Do we have a mover for this resolution?
Yes.
Councillor Blosha. Seconded by Councillor Foster. Questions or comments on that? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
That is carried. Okay, down to correspondence. Does everyone,
Yeah, I think
Have a
everybody's got a copy of the.
okay, we have a letter from the rural municipality of Riding Mountain West that deals with night hunting. Hopefully you've all had a chance to read it over. You'll also notice that there is a petition that one can access online and sign your name to it. I don't believe they're asking for a letter of support or anything other than the petition, right?
It's just a letter of awareness, eh? Check out the petition if you want.
Anyone have any comments on it? If not, then we will leave it to you individually to access the petition if you so choose to sign your name to it. Next is a letter from Ronald McDonald, House Charities. Are they asking for a donation here or not?
That is a charity they have asked for it. We can look at it and we don't have to decide an amount tonight. We can think about it and talk about it next time, but this is the
Okay.
information.
I think we've donated to this before.
Yeah, I was just trying to look that up and I didn't see it.
No,
I don't believe in the last couple of years.
no.
So.
Okay, so we will let you peruse that at your leisure. Ten point three. Again, all of you, I assume, received a copy of this. Have you all had a chance to read through it?
This one is asking for a letter of support.
For the school board to remain.
Yeah, and
Have they come out with a decision yet or not? As to what the province now I'm talking?
I don't believe so. They're going to make a presentation to Manitoba Education, so they wanted a letter of support.
Okay, so they're still not a clear,
They haven't come to a conclusion yet.
okay, does anyone have an issue with a letter of support going out to them?
No.
If it works, it works.
Yeah.
We have to change it.
Okay, there is a resolution to ask for a letter of support, and it reads like this. Whereas Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West knows the importance of education for the future of our children. Therefore be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West send a letter of support for the continuation of said education through the Swan Valley School Division and its school board. Be it further resolved that we support said education and that any changes or recommendations be reviewed in an open forum so as to allow input from all stakeholders. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Moved by Councillor Kushniryk. A seconder? Councillor Wills. Any discussion, questions? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
That is carried.
Is that somebody leaving or coming on to the phone? Do we have anybody new joining us? Did somebody join us here just a few seconds ago?
Okay, there's nothing in 11. Okay, we will go to committee reports. We'll start at the bottom. Councillor Pierrepont.
He's on mute again.
Councillor Pierrepont?
Yes, I attended a transportation meeting, and that was it for me.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Blosha?
I had an LUD meeting on the 16th, which some of it we will discuss a little later. One of the things that was discussed there was a flashing sign reminding vehicles of the 50 kilometers through Bonito sign. And Mr. Webb was going to get staff to talk to Manitoba Highways about that. And the other meeting I attended was the transportation meeting on the 19th.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kushniryk?
I attended the Swan Valley Rise meeting here last week. I think one of the points on that agenda was the broadband service and whether our commitment is required or not.
That's it.
Yes, transportation as well, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Foster?
Yeah, I attended the transportation meeting, that's it, yeah.
Councillor Wills?
I guess for me, it was the transportation meeting last week, and last night I attended a planning district meeting.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything to report, Councillor Gade?
I do actually. Can't say I've been to committee meetings, sadly. I have had some people ask me about water in Bonito. This one, I guess, more as communicating, that you just mentioned that, so it we looked into a little more. One comment here I have says it's been bad lately. I get 5 tanks every 2 weeks. They used to be bluish, but probably since December it hasn't been consistent. 2 weeks ago it was really brown. Wasn't sure if it was getting pumped straight from the river. My personal experience is much the same with that, with the water in Bonito as of late. It's varying in quality wildly. I know even a week ago I received some calls from people quite concerned that when they had it in the tank it actually appeared to be black in color. I'm sure it wasn't black like we all think, pure pitch black, but very dark color that wasn't even brown necessarily. So certainly if staff have an opportunity to look into that a little bit, I know people would certainly appreciate it if we could figure out what's going on and find a way to keep that consistent, good quality that we expect.
Our staff has been attending to it quite regularly, making sure the quality of the water is up to standards, talking to Water Services Board, and so the quality of the water, I can assure you from samples and from testing through laboratory that all of Manitoba relies on, is very good. The color is bad, and we are looking at changing the filter, not the filter system, but the filter elements, and we have a green sand filter that the sand needs to be refreshed on. So we'll be working on that, and it is very unfortunate to have that color especially when you're looking at drinking water. So we'll address that as much as we can, but for sure we will maintain the quality so that the parts per thousand and all the tests that we are required to uphold are met. And if anything changes, we'll definitely let you know. All right.
Okay, thank you. I attended via telephone, Zoom actually, I guess it was, a chamber-sponsored meeting with our MP, Dan Mazier, last Friday. Also attended a transportation meeting, a Swan Valley Business Consortium meeting, a RISE meeting, and a planning district meeting. James, do you have something to report?
I attended an LUD meeting and a transportation meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, not a problem. A resolution to accept the committee reports. Resolved that we do hereby accept the following verbal reports regarding council committees and communications. Councillor Kushniryk, RISE, and a transportation meeting. Councillor Blosha, LUD and transportation. Councillor Wills, transportation and a planning meeting. Councillor Pierrepont, transportation. Councillor Gade spoke about water in Bonito. Councillor Foster, transportation. Myself, a meeting with Dan Mazier, sponsored by the Chamber. Transportation meeting, Swan Valley Business Consortium, RISE meeting, and a planning meeting as well. James Webb attended the LUD meeting in Bonito and a transportation meeting. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Moved by Councillor Blosha. Seconded by Councillor Kushniryk. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
And is carried. Okay, that brings us to number 13, the in-camera session. We will take a short recess, but before we do that, we will ask or let anyone from the gallery make a comment or a question regarding tonight's business. Anyone have a question or a comment?
Galloway, for the clarification. It's been long overdue.
We're having trouble hearing you.
Oh, sorry, moved the mic. I said thank you for the clarification on the media release. It's been long overdue.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have a comment or a question?
Ron here. Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Maybe I missed something in that clarification. I will agree anything that's been passed or discussed, open forum, public meeting, can be repeated by anyone. I guess my question is, did I miss where the issue or concern is with the tender? Was that from a private meeting of council or an open meeting?
No, there was a resolution passed once we came out of in-camera to award the contract. But normally it takes a day or some part of a day at least for staff to ensure that they have all that they need in front of them before contacting the contractor. You almost need a bit of a formal agreement as to payments, if there's progress payments to be made, etc. And I guess all we're asking is that council members be considerate of that fact and not be contacting contractors.
I understand that. I guess that's something that council should do towards themselves to work together better. But as far as repeating information to persons or whatever, once in a public forum, it is open to the public. Another note, I would just like to not spend much time, but there is, this meeting especially, a lot of beeping coming in, going out, coming in. If we moved these portions to a Zoom, wouldn't it be readily identified as who is coming in and going out, instead of, if people want to keep coming in and not identifying themselves, how do you know? If we're conducting these meetings as we would under normal circumstances, if I show up at the gallery in person, I'm there. And if we're to do this and be the honor system and it's being violated, moving to a Zoom platform, wouldn't that keep the transparency?
I believe it would, but I'll let James take the pass on this one.
Yes, Ron, I agree with you, and we've been thinking about going to that, and for sure you're easily identified, and you can eliminate a lot of the background noise with Zoom as well, so we do have to work to get there, and we'll make it a goal for next meeting.
Yeah, I don't see the harm in identifying yourself, wanting to be a part of the meeting, but I guess others do. But it is, like I know when I'm listening at this end, and I'm sure anybody else on the phone, it does become distracting when you continually hear that beep, beep, beep going on. But anyway, thank you for my time.
Not a problem, thank you. We hope that we don't go very much longer under these circumstances with COVID. It's been a year now and it's getting a little old. Any other questions or comments?
I have one actually.
Who is that?
Brad Kushniryk.
Brad, you didn't identify yourself. When did you come on?
Quite early.
So, did you have a hesitation to identify yourself?
You know what? Honestly, just more of I ask questions of council, they don't respond to me, so kind of a mutual respect type thing.
Okay, that's not what we're taking questions on, Brad. You were asked a simple question. You were asked a simple question, why you didn't identify yourself when you joined.
You're done.
That was my answer.
Okay, good enough.
That was my personal answer of why. So if we can move on.
Thanks.
We're done with your question.
Yep, thanks.
Excuse me?
Next question.
Any other questions?
So you're refusing that I asked you any questions about the bridge because I didn't identify myself at a meeting?
Yeah, we're going to take that out of the minutes if we can move on.
I would like to move on to my question.
Okay, I think you...
This is twice in a row I've been refused to allow to speak.
There seems to be some conflict in the air with respect to people joining and not wanting to identify themselves. James asked on a number of occasions when we hear the beeps coming in, we aren't absolutely certain whether they're coming or going. However, I will give you the floor for a question if it pertains to what was discussed at this meeting so far.
It does, thank you. I just need clarification on the bridge timeline. I'm confused on how that worked. So the resolution was passed, and then Councillor Gade contacted the contractor, and then he decided that he didn't want it?
That's what you heard.
Okay, so the feeling that I get is that Councillor Gade is being blamed for costing the municipality $112,000.
We're not talking
Would that-
feelings here. We answered your question. Do you have another question with respect to the bridge contract?
I can spew it all out at once. I mean, I'm just trying to do it in stages so we follow along well, rather than just spewing it out and it's hard to follow. So what I'm saying is, you're faulting Councillor Gade for costing that money, but in reality, the councillor didn't do anything other than inform the bidder.
Excuse me, who faulted Councillor Gade?
Well,
Do not put words in other people's mouths.
okay, fine, fair enough. You are saying that you guys have people to do this for you, that the councillor should not be contacting them. So, what I'm questioning is, last year, the arena in Benito was short money, and the LUD was blamed for not contacting them to tell them what they would be receiving.
That's not something that we just discussed at this meeting, Mr. Kushniryk.
No, I'm just referencing how you're faulting him speaking to the person.
Who's again said that we faulted him? I just corrected you on that, and you do it again.
Oh? I didn't say that. I said you're faulting him for speaking to them, not for costing the money. I said for speaking to
Okay,
him.
I'm not here to argue. Neither is the rest of council.
Okay.
If you have a legitimate question, ask it. If not, thanks for the question that you did have.
I'm just trying to put the timeline together. And
I don't believe that that's your job to put the timeline together.
in as a ratepayer, I'm entitled to put the timeline together so I know who I should be more upset with. I also, at one point, you said that if the bidder or the person issuing a tender, or not issuing a tender, placing a quote, were to then win the contract and then try to squeeze extra money, that questions the integrity of that contractor. Now, earlier in the year, I watched a meeting where you guys were giving quotes to fire of Aaron, and you gave a price. They said Saskatchewan paid more.
Councillor, LUD member Kushniryk, what you are now talking about was not discussed at this meeting. I don't care if you're a ratepayer or not. This
references something you said at this meeting. You questioned the integrity of the person putting in a quote.
I said one could question. I never said that I questioned it. I said one could question it. Now,
well, one could, then I'm also just pointing out that should you question him.
This is it now. You are here to argue, not to ask a legitimate question. So thank you for the questions that you did ask. Hopefully you got the answer. We will move on. Does anyone else have a question or a comment?
May I beg a very brief comment, Reeve?
Go ahead.
We have worked long and hard in order to have that few minutes to speak to council at the end. I feel that Mr. Brad Kushniryk is abusing that, and I would hate for us to lose that privilege.
Thank you.
Is it right?
If there are no further questions, we will thank you all for attending, and we will call a 10-minute recess and reconvene and go in camera. Thank you all. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, resolved that pursuant to section 152 sub 3 of the Municipal Act, the council as a whole shall go into camera and close the meeting to continue discussions regarding employee matters, tax sale agreements, LUD service plan, property in the LUD, dog bylaw enforcement, recycling, and code of conduct. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Moved by Councillor Kushniryk. Seconded by Councillor Foster. All in favor?
Yeah.
That is carried. Okay, resolved that pursuant to section 152 sub 4 of the Municipal Act, this meeting shall be reopened to the public. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Councillor Foster. Seconder, Councillor Wills. All in favor?
I gotta let him have the last one.
Yes.
That's carried. Next resolution, whereas subsection 369 sub 1 of the Municipal Act provides as follows. 3691, a municipality may cancel or adjourn an auction of a particular property at any time before it begins if the property owner enters into an agreement with the municipality for payment of the arrears and costs, and whereas several property owners requested to enter into an agreement with the municipality for payments of the 2019 and 2020 taxes and costs, therefore be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West does hereby agree to payment arrangements and removal from the 2021 tax list, sale list for said properties. Be it further resolved that the Reeve shall be authorized to sign agreements on behalf of the municipality. Do we have a mover for that resolution?
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Blosha. Seconder, Councillor Kushniryk. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
That is carried. Whereas the provincially approved third-party intake reviewer has dismissed Code of Conduct Complaint number 5 based on the person referenced in the complaint not being named directly in the media post. Therefore be it resolved that Council hereby accept the decision to dismiss the said complaint. Moved by Councillor Wills. Seconded by Councillor Kushniryk. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? That is carried. Whereas the provincially approved third-party intake reviewer has dismissed Code of Conduct Complaint number 6, based on the volume of material submitted, it still failed to disclose or provide substantiation for the alleged violations. The complaints were frivolous and vexatious, and for the most part outside the scope of the legislation. Therefore be it resolved that Council hereby accepts the decision to dismiss said complaint. Do we have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Wills, seconded by Councillor Kushniryk. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay. That is carried. Okay, is there anything further from anyone? Not resolved that this meeting shall now adjourn at 9:55 p.m. Be it further resolved that the next meeting is Tuesday, March 9th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Kushniryk.
Surprise, surprise.
All in favor?
Yes. Yes.
That is carried.
Birthday, you had to let me have that one.
Thank you all for attending.